Hi, I'm the self-taught philosopher and I have a theory I would like to share with you all. I'm Dutch and I wanted to call my theory kutkatten and kankerhonden. Kut literally means cunt and kanker means cancer or cancerous. So it's cunt cats and cancerous dogs. And if I needed to translate it, I would call it something like fucking cats and bloody dogs. Something like that. But I could also call it the cat person and dog person theory, or the cat person and dog person in general. I said wanted because I haven't made my mind up about the name of the theory yet. I have the theory worked out, but I haven't completely written it down yet. And I needed to maybe negotiate with certain people about the title. And I'm not a writer, so that's why I asked Brett Weinstein and another few people who I think are very smart and could help me write this down better than I could personally. But unfortunately, there was a little change of plans because Brett didn't feel the need to contact me, but he did feel the need to steal a little part of my theory, which is a model which I've commented in the chat. And 4 weeks later, he claimed it as his. Which I can prove. I have the conversation with the alkali, which I will include. Brett also tried to delete the videos and reposted them to get rid of the comments, and now it says above the comments this channel or content was deleted. So like it wasn't even him, like he's trying to hide it, which makes him extra guilty in my eyes. But I want everybody to be able to decide for themselves, so let's see where this goes. The part or the model that Brett stole from me was my 20-60-20 model, which represents 20% being pro, 60% being neutral or doing nothing, and 20% being against. The alkali, of whom I think is really smart, made the comment, I think on both sides there are two small percentages which are extremists. This is what my theory was about, so I already feared I spoke too much and didn't want to say anymore. So I immediately included this is part of my narcissist, psychopath, empath theory. In a way, it plagued me, and I find it fascinating that he got it instantly, and I wanted to ask him about it. But the following week he was not in the chat, so I waited a week, and then I asked him, "Don't you think it's strange? Don't you think it's strange that with all these parts of civilization having the greatest education possible, that nothing like this is mentioned nowhere?" 2 weeks later, Brett made the statement about his 4-part witch hunt theory, which he didn't know someone else also had that model, although the other person's model had only 3 parts. And the lie he told his students prior to Corona, his 4-part witch hunt theory, which I have never hear him speak about before, not after I mentioned it 4 weeks prior, not ever before during this 2-year period. But 4 weeks after me making that statement, he all of a sudden has that model, which he told his students about, and he didn't know the other guy had, although the other guy's theory was about 3 parts. Of course, I was not happy about this, but I joined the next live stream not knowing what to expect, and it was obvious they were targeting to cancel me. the moderator, and a few more. I also need to mention I have sent Brad an email on the 17th of January, and I will read certain parts of that email. So in the first email I wrote that I have created a scale which I can better understand people and their action to certain actions, myself included. And I asked them if I could maybe share this theory with them, because I could never explain it as well as they could. I also said I was looking at some mythological and historical aspects. That was pretty much the first mail. No response. So I created a second email in which I explained my theory and how I got this theory a little further. This email was sent 2 days later, which makes it the 19th of January. Now, looking back at it, I included way too much information. This is a pretty huge email, so I will only talk about the things that I think are important. Where I want to put the emphasis on, what I think is important. And so my values, this is a really returning concept, values. This is mainly what my theory is about. In the beginning I explain a little bit about myself and my life and my experience, the run-ins I have with the law and justice, and how I experience it. Then I say a little something about how I can stand vicious people. Then I talk a little bit about my personality type and with what kind of personality type I collide. And also mention their confident arrogance. Now this is the part where it's interesting for me, because this is exactly what my theory is about. How do I know if people are honest, and what can I expect from them? Then I explain a little on how the psychopaths are hard on their surroundings, on their friends, family, colleagues. Now this little part for me is very important, because I sent this message at 19 January, and what did Brad do in July? Then I say I experimented, which makes it a theory and not a hypothesis. So my theory. Then I say a little on how I experimented, followed by my interests, and a little bit about my self-image. In the next little paragraph, I try to explain that I was struggling with ideas and values without understanding what I was actually doing. After that, I talk a little bit about my restriction, about my ability to express myself in words, therefore my ability to communicate. In the next paragraph, I speak about aging, becoming older. In the Netherlands, we have a saying, losing your wild hairs. It means something like, you have experienced enough. Now it's time to take your responsibilities and become a respectful, responsible adult. This old Dutch saying sums up the first part of the paragraph perfectly. In the second part of the paragraph, I talk about how we all have our own specialties and restrictions. Of the next few paragraphs, I'm going to do a sum up. I start off with a little group behavior, trying to include a norm. Then I talk a little bit about how the whole interaction is different between me and the higher educated, because they now look past the grammar barrier. From the next paragraph, I want to quote a little piece. We are all bound by our norms and values, even by boundaries we don't think about
and or act upon in our consciousness. And many of the weird habits, norms, or actions can only be seen as an outsider after a trauma or life-changing experience. Here I say my theory is about 90 to 95% correct. After that I say I have fully completed this theory, but I can never explain it like they could. Followed by a sum up, which I will now fully read out. So the theory is about the person and how they think they can treat others, and the person in a group/herd behavior. I have made a scale on how to determine how much a person places himself or herself above the other. The scale itself is not perfect, but it explains the empathy and psychopathy, or the me or my group over you or your group behavior perfectly, and also explains group/herd behavior. I would like to go in a little on ancient Roman and former historical mythology, religion, and or the norms of those times. I would also like to include the male and the female mythology and or role. I think I found a better way to describe people and maybe even live by, and for everyone to understand, not just the great philosophers. To me, it explains history and humanity way better than any truthful philosophy or any global human trait description we have now. So that was my email to Brad on 19 January 2022.
So after they blocked me, I immediately contacted him on Twitter. But I will not include those Twitter comments. I can later on. I even tried to make it easy for him to apologize by saying I forgive him and I'm willing to look past this situation. And that I still like and value him and his ideas. Another strange coincidence for me is that on Saturday the 3rd of September I've contacted Jordan Peterson on Twitter and the messages got through. So I also emailed him on Saturday the 3rd stating that my Twitter messages got through. I don't know the importance of this, but who knows, it might be in the future. Let's see. I've decided not to include the email because it has too much details which other people otherwise could also steal, which I don't want. Even with my bad choice of words and lack of grammar, there is a lot of psychology in the little info I put in there, which they will now try and use for themselves to create their theory and claim it as theirs. I say theirs because I believe there are more people involved. From now on, I will start making reaction vids on every stream where they claim to have my values, which they are trying to bring to the world, which I've shared from my email I've sent in January. And we can see how the talk they speak changed, the words they use, the language they used, the concepts they used, how they changed after I sent my email to him, them. And I have the email, so I could include it anytime. It doesn't matter when. So basically what my theory is about, it's about the norm, the values that we have, the empathy that we have for others, or the lack of. I've called it a scale. So my 20-60-20 model is actually a mathematical model of the value structure of a norm. Norms and values, all norms and values, which many apparently lack. I noticed this pattern, but believe that this is nothing new. I have historical proof that I think proves this. So the model I used, this 20-60-20, which the numbers are open, but it's all about the concept, it can be applied to almost any conflict or situation. with multiple parties where there are disagreements or different understandings about something, different belief sets which they value. Again, norms and values which everyone uses to live and to how they want to be seen and what they want to get out of life and want to be remembered by, which is all basic human behavior. It's all about values and norms. I think this is enough information for now, and let's see where it takes us. For me, this is nothing new. I have plenty of experience with dealing with people and exactly this type of situations. Let's see how it ends. Let's see where it will take us. And all by my own experience. Knowledge acquired by experience equals wisdom. KABE equals W. I wanted to add a little quote, a little saying that I've created. Normally I don't write them down, but maybe it's time I started doing it. I have the eye of the owl and the memory of an elephant, yet I still make mistakes. Let me end this video off by saying life is a mystery that you need to experience and solve by yourself, and only you can do it. I am Swerry J En Bw, the self-taught philosopher. Until next time, later.